So guys, welcome back to the channel Recap Express. Imagine waking up in an unknown place, without memory of how it got there. You are alone, surrounded by white walls and no apparent exit. Every action you take generates absurd and unpredictable consequences. This is the 2009 Symbol starting point, one of the most enigmatic and surreal films ever created. Mixing humor, mystery, and philosophy, today's movie will make you reflect on life. Attention, spoilers ahead. Let's go to the movie Symbol. But before, now, check it out if you are subscribed to the channel, so you do not lose any of our summaries and analysis. Let's go. The movie Symbol begins in an enigmatic way, presenting us two stories that, at first glance, do not seem to have a connection. The first plot takes place in Mexico and accompanies a masked fighter known as Escargot Man. He is a simple man with a few words who lives with his family and prepares for an important fight that night. His routine looks worldly, but there is an air of mystery around him. His wife and children observe expectantly as he dresses, adjusting his mask and mentally preparing for the challenge to... The atmosphere is silent, but there's an underlying tension. The struggle he will face is not just another sporting event. There is something significant in it, something that seems to transcend the simple physical clash. His wife looks at him with a mixture of worry and pride. Your children, small and innocent, play around without fully understanding the weight of the moment. The environment is warm and familiar, but there is also a feeling in the... The second story leads us to a completely different and surreal scenario. A Japanese man, wearing only a white sleeping outfit, wakes up in an equally white room without windows. The place is minimalist, and there are no visible doors or objects. He is alone and without any explanation of how he got there. Your first reaction is confusion. He looks around, hoping to find something that gives him clues about where he is and how it went there, but there is nothing but the infinite white of the walls. At first he tries to keep calm, but the absence of any concrete information makes him rest. He begins to explore the room. He hits the walls, screams for help, but gets no answer. The environment is claustrophobic, and the absence of any external sound increases its anguish. After some unsuccessful attempts to interact with the space around him, he perceives a peculiarity in the environment. Small protuberances on the wall, which resemble parts of the cherub's body. They are arranged apparently randomly, as if they were ornaments without practical function. Curious and without another option, he decides to play one of them. As soon as it does this, a noise echoes in the room and suddenly a toothbrush falls from the ceiling. The object seems completely out of context and offers no solution to your problem. Intrigued, he plays another button, and this time, a sushi appears. He begins to realize that these buttons trigger random events, bringing unexpected objects or reactions. His curiosity becomes a mix of involuntary frustration and fun, for each interaction brings something new, and often without apparent meaning. Determining to understand the functioning of the room, it begins to press different buttons, mentally writing down what each one does. Some release food, other useless objects, and some even seem to have absurd effects, such as releasing unexpected sounds or causing parts of the ceiling to move slightly. He laughs, cries, and goes through an emotional roller coaster while trying to make sense of that experience. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Escargot Man approaches the moment of the fight. The camera focuses on the crowd eager to see him in the ring. His family accompanies him closely, and his young son holds a toy, imitating his father's blows. The contrast between the simplicity of the fighter's life and the chaos of the White Room is evident, but somehow the two stories seem to move towards something bigger. The Japanese protagonist squeezes one of the buttons, and suddenly a huge Buddha statue appears at the bottom of the room, announcing that the surreal experience he is living is about to become even more complex. Now, trapped in a cycle of attempts and errors, the Japanese protagonist begins to test different buttons in an attempt to escape the room. It receives food, random objects, and even some bizarre elements, such as a priest laughing. Gradually, he realizes that there is a hidden logic in the sequence of events. Some buttons trigger reactions that can be combined to create new possibilities. Initially, he tries to press the buttons randomly, hoping that one of them will provide the exit you want so much. However, their actions only generate even more chaos. A toothbrush falls, followed by a fishing stick. A toy police officer appears, flashing red lights. At another point, a pile of sushi is dumped on the floor. He begins to realize that these events are not completely random. There is a pattern behind them, but still cannot decipher it. Determining to better understand the operation of the environment, he decides to test each button with more caution. He organizes the items he receives, trying to find connections between them. Some combinations seem to make sense. For example, a fishing stick in a hole that opens on the floor may suggest something useful, but the hole soon closes before it can use it. Frustration grows as he realizes that whenever he is about to reach a breakthrough, the room changes the rules of the game. He begins to go through different emotional states: anger, despair, resignation, and finally, a strange sense of acceptance. The room seems to be a type of test, but the purpose still escapes it. He tries to climb the walls, uses the objects in unexpected ways, but nothing seems to give him real control over the situation. The sense of impotence intensifies when he realizes that he is getting hungry and thirsty. He tries to eat the foods that appear, but nothing quenches his true need: get out of there. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Escargot Man enters the ring for his fight. Combat follows traditionally, but there is something peculiar in the way it moves. The fight is intense, and its performance is closely monitored by your family and the public. He receives hard blows, but remains standing. Its resistance is impressive, as if there was something larger guiding its determination. The viewers vibrate with each blow, and his wife observes with a mixture of worry and pride. Sweat drips from his forehead, and he feels the weight of the fight increasing. Back in the White Room, the Japanese protagonist begins to perceive a deeper pattern. He notices that some button sequences generate more predictable reactions. For example, certain buttons always produce food, while others create noises or make the environment tremble. He starts to mentally organize these interactions, drawing a logical way to find the way out. He then makes a crucial decision. Instead of acting on despair, he begins to reason strategically. He realizes that certain sequences of actions are necessary to activate more significant changes in space. He creates a plan and patiently performs each step, carefully observing the results. When finally seems to be close to an answer, a button triggers a big event. The roof of the room opens, revealing an intense light. He looks up, feeling that something grand is about to happen. In Mexico, Escargot Man is at the apex of the fight. He receives heavy blows, but remains standing. There is a suspense in the air, as if your fight were symbolically linked to what is happening to the man stuck in the White Room. When the Japanese protagonist, finally understanding the mechanics of the room, presses a button that triggers a transformation, he realizes that his journey is not just about escaping, but about something much bigger. His consciousness seems to expand, and he begins to become part of something deeper and more cosmic. When the Japanese protagonist presses the final button, his reality transforms completely. The White Room disappears around it, and it finds itself in an infinite space, as if it were within a higher dimension. Everything around him expands, and he feels that his conscience is merging with something greater. Time and space seem to lose meaning, and he realizes that his journey inside the room was just a much deeper stage. His body begins to shine, and he feels powerful energy flowing through him. Gradually, he understands that not only escaped the room, he evolved into a new state of existence. He realizes that now, he has the power to shape the reality around him, as if he had become a divine being. What were once simple buttons on a wall now become creation tools. He begins to test his new skills, and realizes that he can influence events in the real world. In Mexico, Escargot Man's struggle reaches its climax. He gets a devastating blow and falls to the floor. The audience holds the breath, waiting to see if he will get up. Your family observes with apprehension, and for a moment it seems that everything is lost. But then something changes. He feels a renewed force within him, as if he had received an invisible energy. He gets up and with a final blow, defeats his opponent. The crowd explodes in celebration, and his family runs to hug him. The connection between the two stories is finally revealed. The Japanese protagonist, now a superior entity, watches Escargot Man from afar, as if guiding his journey. He realizes that his purpose was not simply to escape, it was to transcend, to understand the life of a new perspective, and to influence events beyond his own existence. The last scene of the film shows the Japanese protagonist hanging over the world, contemplating his new existence. He is no longer an ordinary man. He has become a superior being, a symbol of transformation and evolution. What seemed like a chaotic and meaningless experiment was revealed a journey of self-discovery and transcendence. Symbol ends openly, letting the audience reflect on their own journeys and what it means to evolve. The film does not offer easy answers, but proposes deep questions about destiny, free will, and the nature of existence. Symbol is a film that challenges conventional logic and invites us to reflect on existential topics in a unique way. His non-linear and symbolic narrative presents a journey of evolution and transcendence that leaves more questions than answers. The protagonist's experience in the White Room reflects the learning and discovery process. while Escargot Man's struggle represents resistance and overcoming in the physical world. In the end, the work reminds us that our own existence can be a cycle of testing and learning, where each challenge drives us to a new level of understanding. The film does not seek to explain, but to provoke reflections, becoming a unique and unforgettable cinematic experience. And I want to know what you interpreted from this movie. What were your conclusions? Leave it here in the comments so that we can reflect on this deep story together. And if you like this video, leave your like and subscribe to the channel.